Hi guys, welcome back. So number 2 of your content checklist, to make sure that you are using your content in the best way possible, that it's content that people want, that you're not just some little voice in the wilderness of everybody else's content that's not being heard because there's so much chatter and there's so much noise. And that isn't just on Facebook, and that isn't just about blogs. We cut with content, we mean basically everything. Now, yesterday we looked at how to measure the effectiveness of your content, and the number one tip was to measure the effectiveness, to set SMART goals and to evaluate how that's going so that you can adjust accordingly. Number 2 then is relating to that, and it's to have an action plan. You know, I've used this example before, that I was awesome at writing plans that I never actually put into action. For example, revision timetables. I was brilliant at writing the most detailed revision timetables, and it was a way to procrastinate. It was a way not to take action. So while I want you to genuinely look at the right type of content and put content out there that isn't going to be a voice in the wilderness, you know, that no one's listening to, at the same time, I still, if you don't have time for all that, just get the content out there, and then in the time that you've got behind the scenes, build the actual plan that fits with your day and other things that take up your time. And taking up your time, as I always say, is not watching cats, or now bulldogs skateboarding. So make it written, make it really, really relevant to your business. So you know your avatar, you know where they hang out, you know the sort of content they like. You've done the research on that, so that the content that you put out is relevant and of use. Don't forget, at the end of the day, you're trying to answer their problem. They're trying to help them achieve a goal. So don't wander off the point too much. There's a big thing at the moment with fit pros becoming gurus and mindset coaches, and mindset is an incredibly important part of what you do. But you know, the public are probably looking at this going, well, who are you to tell me about confidence, or who are you to tell me about fearlessness? You don't necessarily have the credibility for that. And to get credibility is another form of content. Write a book, get it published, make it a #1 bestseller. That's how you get some credibility behind your words. So stick to the things that the public know that you're qualified to do, and tell them that you're qualified to do those things. Stick to the actual action plan. So once you've made a commitment that you're going to write a blog every Sunday night, that's when you write the blog. You don't skip out on that. You might write 2. You might decide to get ahead of yourself by having some in reserve for those moments that you have to be flexible. But you don't skip out when you haven't got something in reserve. Yeah. Group task stuff. So this was about using your tools like Buffer, so that you set aside a time, 3 hours maybe, where all social media goes off, and you group task all the stuff that you need to do. So that might be write the blog, get the tweets out of the blog ready to go and programmed in, write the email that's going to accompany the blog or before the blog, get some stuff off for infographics that's created by the blog, send that off to Fiverr or do it yourself. So you group task all that stuff together, because that's far more productive thing to do. And use your tools. And I've just mentioned one, Buffer, Post Planner. You know, there's all sorts of tools out there to make your life easier, or even outsource to somebody who can do that for you and send stuff off to Fiverr. So you end up with like an assistant, if you like, a VA, a virtual assistant or a real assistant, who helps you manage all the stuff that you really need to do as a business owner to make your content effective and make sure that you stick to your timetable. You know, I know this is meant to be fun, and I know this is entrepreneurship, but you have to have some discipline behind that. You know, just like if you were going to an office job and you rock up at 9 and you leave at 5:30, have some discipline in how you run your entrepreneurial business if you're struggling for money and if you need growth. Now, if you're happy living on a beach in the Philippines, rock on, that's great. I mean, it's a lovely place. Don't get me wrong, it's a lovely place. But if you want to live in the UK or the US or the first world, and you're not hitting the amount of money that makes life comfortable in those places, then you have to have some kind of discipline with what you do as an entrepreneur, and that includes your content generation and understanding the type of content people need. So tip number 2 is have an action plan and sort it. Okay, next one will be tip number 3. Amazingly, what a surprise.